Hi there, Konstantin again. So today I would like to talk about if I were to start a company again in Europe that can scale globally, how would I start it? As you remember in my first video, I was really much talking about the fact that you need to provide value to others in order to succeed in life in general as a human being. So I think here it's pretty much simple. You need to understand that the only way for you to scale a company to way above and beyond 100 billion in sales is to really understand what you're good at as an individual. And that is a tough question. Most people don't know at all. So really go down to your limits and start as early as you can. If you're at the moment 16, 17, 18 and you have 10 years to try stuff out, do it. Do it. And really much do it. And don't necessarily waste 6-7 years doing your PhD studies. That is knowledge that helps you later on, really when you want to go into research. But if you really want to make it big in the world of capitalism, then I think really understanding who you are deep down to the core, and it can get spiritual at times, is really that what you then can offer to others who mostly don't know who they are. And that also goes deep down into what you're really interested in and what you really like. That is a value that you can then provide to others because you have access to people in the field, people actually who have knowledge, contacts that can help you leverage these people and that specific knowledge. Then you have the time, very much important. You cannot build a $100 billion revenue company within the next 15 or 20 years time if you don't have the time. So you already need to be somewhat wealthy. That means you need to be in the right location, right? So Europe, for example, has a huge advantage over other locations because of a good social security system. I know Europeans bitch about the fact that wealth inequality is there. Well, let's put it that way. There's less wealth equality, less inequality than it used to be 60 years ago. And that's kind of interesting if you look at it that way. If you lose your capacity to earn income, you're gonna be probably on welfare. And in Germany, there's two types of welfare. So there's the welfare that you get if you have had, for example, 1 year of consecutive work and you paid into the social security pot, then you'll get, I think, 60 or 70% from your last brut salary right out the bat. And if you did not do that because you had whatever toxic work relationships and different other challenges in this regard, you could still be able to get some social security in that regard, that you basically have an apartment paid, and I think it's like $400 cash on hand. I'm not very familiar with it, but that at least gives you the time to think up an idea and execute it to a certain extent, given the fact that you also have the contacts in that relevant industry, and you are passionate about solving the problem for not only yourself, but most likely for people who do not have access to. And that's a tougher way to scale a business. The easier way to scale a business is you have a problem that you have yourself, and you figure out how to market the product to yourself, because you're most likely not the only person in the world who likes that kind of way of communicating that problem and solution. So overall, it's an easy task if you really, and also if you have grit. You need to have grit. Without grit, it's not possible. You need to be really biting yourself through the deepest, thickest shit in order to survive in that cutthroat environment. And cutthroat it is because there's millions of other people who have probably different types of skill sets who might be of advantage. At the end, the only person survives in that game who is the last woman or man or team standing. And I can speak for myself in that regard. You know, there have been so many companies who tried to do what we do over the last 20 years, and they most likely all failed because they did not have as much skin in the game, and or have not been positioned in the right perspective to really capture the market on that level and scale needed to win globally. Yeah, we are right off the gate well positioned because we understood don't serve independent retailers in terms of franchisees. Like you have franchisees of Edeka, which is a big German supermarket franchise where 50% of the stores are owned by individual store owners who did their apprenticeship even at that firm, and then they have got the opportunity to become a franchisee. And then there's Rewe, same concept, but different brand on top of it and different company structure. One are based in Hamburg, Edeka. Rewe is based in Cologne. So that is a very important point. Understanding that you need to serve independent merchants worldwide is the key, because there are more of them who transact 6.5 trillion US dollar a year, right? That's literally more than Walmart, Amazon, and all the other big 7 retailers globally combined. And that is a point that you need to think about when you start out. So circling back, it's also coming down to your motivation. So where do you want to see the change based on your capacity, which I tried to describe with the skill set of knowing the right people, having access to information, adding your own creativity and having your own time, and being in a position that even though you're not necessarily from a wealthy background, you'll be able to survive, and taking 3-4 years to work your ass off without pay at the end of the day, and understand the problem and then scale the platform to the relevant size. And I think Europe is a good place to be at, because of the fact that we are speaking all the languages that you need for scale. It's the biggest challenge, but it's also the biggest advantage. If you have the opportunity to speak 3, 4, 5 languages, the probability for you to launch your service in Southern America, in the US, as well as in, let's say, West Africa, where a lot of countries do speak French, is pretty high. Though the immense amount of work that you need to put in to get your service at that level, also the customer service, is another topic. However, if you survived in that market, you're probably going to dominate worldwide, because you're already able to understand the cultures and the problems that individual customer groups face, and adapt the messaging and the marketing to it. Well, this is very much down the line, but if I were to start a company again and try to push it to 100 billion, I would really choose a topic that is a big topic, non-digitized industries, such as that you can build scalable business models, and that you're really able to capture value because you have the right time amounts. You need to be, honestly, you need to be in your 20s to spend 15-20 years of your life grinding your ass to figure out in your 40s how to be that 150, $120 billion sales company. And everybody else who thinks different might have different advantages. For example, a 15-20 year successful corporate career, different capital allocations possible, but at the end of the day we all have the same lifespan, and the pressure will just go up over the course of your life in terms of the ability to lose and to stand up again is much easier when you're younger than when you're older and you have wife, house, kids, and other responsibilities. For example, parents who are elderly and do need care, and care is expensive. Even in Europe, it costs 5,000 to 6,000 just to house one of your parents in elderly care full-time, 24/7. So yeah, I mean, building $100 billion company is not for everyone, and I mean revenue, not fucking valuation, because valuation, what does it even mean? It's just what people attribute to your company based on potential future, revenue, and therefore its valuation, and discounting the cash flows. It's much easier for you to understand the valuation if you have the opportunity to move forward with actual plan, and a plan that starts in your youth, when you are still a little bit idealistic and a bit naive, and the pessimism didn't think through your cognitive side. It didn't capture your cognitive side completely. And overall, I chose myself to be positioned in a market which is heavily dominated by Europeans, because that's my playground. Family history on the mother's side is over 800 years old, aristocrat family, Prussian family. I myself am the 13th generation, so at least the 13th generation of financial relevance. We are way older than that. My father worked for the German government as a diplomat. Yeah, he built like infrastructure projects in the water industries, meaning sewage systems, desalination pumps. I'm very well connected to different families who run different European industries, be it media or finance or food, like all the things that is needed to have success, and also understand, because these are also customers to us, to some extent. If you have the big food family who runs his business, his or her business for like 120 years, and they make 600 million, they want you as a long-run partner. They won't collaborate with a fucking startup who just raised 5 million. You really need to understand their perspective of how to help them internationalize, how to help them modernize, how to help them hand over their business to the next generation who is facing so many different other challenges. And that is only possible if you're yourself committed to a generational approach about how you're gonna build your business. And this is why, like, recently just a competitor failed. They raised 20 million and they wanted to do similar things in B2B wholesale, right? Pooling small orders, placing full truckloads at the producer. Well, you know why they failed? Because they were like a former founder from like a successful German startup and a big head of a corporate retail B2B wholesale group, and they don't have skin in the game. They are not there for the 100 years. They're just there to make a quick bang for the buck, and if the money runs out, they're not gonna follow through and fight for their customers, not even like for their own ass, just for the customer has access to cheaper prices, to hand down the business to the next generation, the family. All of that is very, very much so needed to have that mutual understanding what the goal is. And I try to see the parallels here between what I tried to teach you in the beginning of the video and then what we are implementing down to the ground. And then there is a big question of strategy. And strategy is going to be for the next video, but stay tuned. Thank you. Like, subscribe. I hope that the sound is okay, because I put my microphone on a little bit late. If I have a look at it, I don't think that the camera is, no, the microphone is not on, but who cares? At least you thought you're gonna get great sound because I had a microphone. That's gonna do the strategy part in the next video, and I'm very astounded that most people don't understand strategy, which means you know that you won, and then you try to back engineer the way how you get to that win. My name is Konstantin, again, founder and majority shareholder of Kookaroo. And yeah, if you want to know more, like, subscribe, and share your comments. Happy to reply. Looking forward to be with you in the next video. Peace out.